I'm going to use Ibn Ishaq's version because it's the version that resembles the Bede version the most. Just one selection of it. There's more resemblances beyond this little passage. But I'm just going to read them both, and we'll kind of see what we notice. So here we go. So it starts off, and the Prophet Muhammad is telling the story, by the way, in the first person. He says, he came to me, that is, Gabriel came to me while I was asleep, with a sheet of silk brocade with writing thereon, and said, read, iqra. I said, I cannot read. But he pressed against me until I thought I would die. And then he released me and said, read. So I said, what shall I read? Mada aqra. Right? But I only said this to be delivered, lest he once again do to me what he did before. He said, read in the name of your Lord who did create humanity from coagulate. Read, for your Lord is magnanimous, who through the use of the calamus has taught humanity that of which it was oblivious, right? So this is the 96th surah of the Quran. And then the Prophet Muhammad picks up his self-narrative again. He says, I read it, and then he ceased and withdrew from me. I awoke from my sleep, and it was if he had inscribed a scripture upon my heart. Right? In any case, when we get to the Latin version, we see a lot of similarities, also some differences. For one, it's told in the third person. Right? In due time, Caedmon stretched himself out and went to sleep, whereupon he dreamt that someone stood by him, saluted him, and called him by name. Caedmon, he said, sing to me something. So here, instead of saying read, the command is sing. Right? Caedmon answered, I cannot sing. That is, I don't know how. Once again, the speaker said, nevertheless, you must sing to me. And then he answers again back, what shall I sing? Sing, he said, of the beginning of creation. It's interesting that we have creation in both versions too. At which answer he began to sing in praise of God, the creator, verses he had not heard before. And when he awoke, he remembered all that he had sung while asleep, and soon added more verses in the same manner, praising God in fitting style. At the end we have, so there's a lot of interesting things that we have here, right? So it's not just, so we have differences, like I said before. One is a command to read, one is a command to sing. But also we have this shared structure that's very interesting. So we have one command, read, and then the response is, I cannot. Sing, I cannot. And we have the command again, read, and then instead of saying, I cannot, it's what? What shall I read? And so in the Caedmon version, of course, it's what shall I sing? And then we get number 3, read, and then it gives this the composition, the divine composition, and then the same thing happens in the Caedmon story. Interestingly enough, the Prophet Muhammad, when he awakes, he just says it's as if the scripture had been inscribed upon my heart, or even in my mind, you could translate as. In other words, he had memorized it perfectly. And Caedmon says the same thing. When he awoke, he remembered all that he had sung. So that's a lot of structural parallel for them to be sharing.